Now at 6, the temps continue to heat up as we get closer to the holiday weekend, and the potential is there to reach triple digits before this heat wave ends. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Priscilla Meza.
And I'm Annette Montgomery. And along with that heat, we're also tracking the chance for storms. So let's bring in meteorologist Sam Sampieri to tell us what we can expect. Sam.
Well, ladies, we came tying a record high today. We're 99 degrees, and that's the same record we had in 1966. So that's 60 years ago on this day, and now we've only dropped off a degree. 98 degrees of Windsor locks. Now, the Weather Service will take a look at that data to see if they come up with a final high temperature. Could be 100. It came very close again this afternoon. So we're still in the mid to upper 90s, Connecticut River. But this is what it feels like when you factor in the high heat and humidity. It feels like 100 to 107. Here are the dew point readings, and that's why. In the low and the middle 70s, even upper 70s in the Torrington area. Now, a little bit of a wind, a west wind inland, a little bit of a sea breeze along the shore. That's why it's a little bit cooler, but that's only down in southeastern Connecticut. There's a line of strong storms. They're not really going to bother us. You could get a popcorn one that pops up. But for the most part this evening, I'm not expecting much in the way of that. It's going to be very hot. I see our computer is kind of frozen in an odd way. So partly cloudy tonight, mild and muggy, lows only in the 70s and near 80. Here we go. Now we're working mostly sunny, hot and humid. High temperatures reaching 95 to 100 with heat indices 105 to as high as 110. Coming up, I'll detail the forecast over the weekend. We'll talk about the possibility of those strong storms and what you can expect moving along into the first full week of July. How long will the heat wave last? Ladies?
Thank you, Sam. And it is one of the hottest days we've seen all year, and workers who do essential labor outside are doing their best to stay cool. Now, that includes DOT workers who are busy maintaining state roads during this busy holiday weekend. And Fox 61's Jamel Johnson spoke to DOT leaders today and joins us live from Newington. Jamel, I know they stress just how important it is for these workers to take this heat seriously.
Yeah, Nat, most of the DOT workers right now are practicing essential tips to try to stay cool out there. They're taking breaks in between their shifts. They're drinking a lot of water and they're applying sunscreen out there during this heat wave. But when you have to wear a lot of that protective equipment to get the job done, it can be hard to stay cool.
In blizzards and in extreme heat waves, the work never stops for the Department of Transportation. Communications Director Josh Morgan says the State Department takes several precautions to maximize safety.
We know that there's a lot of work to do, and if we waited until there was ideal temperatures, whether it's heat or cold, like we're always out there working, and what we do is remind crews to take care of themselves.
That means for these workers, hydration and cooling off is the most important.
If you're waiting till you feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated. Making sure that they're following their rest breaks, getting out of the heat, getting into the air conditioning or into the shade when they can. So yeah, it's been a hot week. It's going to be a hot summer, but the work doesn't stop because there's a lot to do around Connecticut.
Another way to combat the heat is to limit the amount of clothing you wear. But for DOT workers, they still need to wear their protective equipment during construction, and that can make cooling off a challenge.
They got to keep their helmets on. They got to keep their vest on. They're not out there with shorts and t-shirts. They have to protect themselves, and that's covering up and also keeping all of their safety gear on. So it's extra hot. They're not cooling off. It's not a day at the beach. It's a day on the road in service of the people of Connecticut.
For the holiday weekend, crews will be mostly off the roads and out of the heat, but spokesperson Eva Zamora says they will be responding to emergencies if they arise.
We've paused all non-emergency work all across the state. So that doesn't mean that you're not going to see some crews that are out there, but again, that work will be emergency in nature.
Now, if crews do have to get called in for an emergency, they will no doubt be practicing some of those safety techniques that we mentioned. And next week is when DOT will actually be ramping up some construction on some of their major projects across the state, and that should really align with the decline of this heat wave, and hopefully we'll be seeing some cooler temperatures then. In Newington, Jamel Johnson, Fox 61.
Thank you, Jamel. And of course, be sure to check the Fox 61 app during this hot stretch for the latest conditions and weather impact alerts. You can also stream our newscasts no matter where you are.
The State Department of Health confirmed today that there have been 23 cases of cyclopariasis so far this year. Now, it's not clear where those cases were reported. Cyclopariasis is an intestinal illness caused by a parasite. People usually get sick within a week of exposure, and that illness can last from 2 days to more than 2 weeks.
The search for a suspect continues after 2 men were killed and a 17-year-old was hurt during a fight on Madison Street in Hartford last night. Fox 61's Alicia Hercules is in Hartford with the latest on the investigation and reaction from the victims' friends and family.
Emotional family members and friends gathered at this growing memorial here on Madison Street to honor the lives of the 2 men who were killed after what police are calling a large fight.
Pretty much here to mourn and celebrate the life of my friend Brian.
Lawrence Crooms says he was friends with one of the victims, 29-year-old Brian Ortiz Santiago. He says he's still in shock.
Hurt. I mean, nobody wanted to get that type of news about a friend or family.
Lieutenant Aaron Boisvert with the Hartford Police Department says officers were dispatched to the area after reports of a large fight.
Found a male in his 30s, unresponsive on the ground, suffering what appeared to be a stab wound.
That victim was later identified as 35-year-old Troylon Cooper. Later, 2 other victims were taken to an area hospital in a private car.
One suffering from a gunshot wound. He has now also been pronounced deceased.
That victim was later identified as Santiago. Police say a 17-year-old was also hurt during the incident and was taken to a nearby hospital. He's expected to recover. Investigators believe the people involved in the incident knew each other. Crooms says the incident should serve as a reminder that violence isn't the answer.
Checking our egos, finding a better way to, deal with conflict resolution a little bit better. Maybe it could have went a different way. Probably didn't have to go the way that it went.
He says people shouldn't allow anger to push them to make life-changing decisions.
Don't let 60 seconds turn into a lifetime sentence.
The Hartford Police Major Crimes Unit is still investigating the incident. They're asking anyone who knows or saw what happened to contact their department. In Hartford, Alicia Hercules, Fox 61.
Caring and kind, those are just some of the words being used to describe Father Terrence Christofak. The priest died yesterday after his car crashed into a tree in West Hartford. That crash happened on Simsbury Road near Tumblebrook Lane. Leaders at his church say he was heading home at the time of the crash. As the community mourns, those who knew Father Terry say he'll be remembered for his compassion and service.
Father Terry established the ministry here for the deaf community and also the ministry here for many diverse groups that would come, and he would sit with those groups and just let them know that they were part of the family of God and they were beloved. And that was the message that came through loud and clear from many of the Facebook messages that came out. He meant so much to people, because he was so sincerely interested in people's lives.
And right now, the cause of the crash remains under investigation. Anyone with any information, please contact West Hartford Police.
The Inspector General says a state trooper's use of deadly force was not justified during a police chase last year, but it will not pursue criminal charges. Instead, the office is calling for law enforcement agencies to revise and clarify their policies for handling pursuits. Here's a breakdown of what happened that November night.
Sarge, can I ram this in, please?
That was the third and final time former trooper Wilfred Blanchett asked former Sergeant Gordon Leslie to intentionally crash into this Honda Accord. Leslie rammed his cruiser into the car 3 more times after that to get the car to stop.
We're going to be continuing speed 35 miles an hour. And the second crash.
This is the end result of the police chase in Norwich on November 24th, 2025. Investigators say this all started when Blanchett clocked the Honda Accord going more than 30 miles per hour over the speed limit on Route 2. They say Jesus Santiago was the driver and Teloin Reddick was his passenger. Blanchett said the car was swerving in and out of lanes and he believed Santiago was impaired. He turned his siren on. He said Santiago gunned it even more, up to 120 miles an hour. Blanchett wrote in his report that Santiago's driving posed an immediate threat, but video from the troopers' cars showed there was little to no traffic and Santiago was not driving through an active construction zone. At one point, state police deployed stop sticks. The sticks deflated one of the tires and it eventually fell off, but the Honda kept going. At 11:45, Blanchett asked Sergeant Leslie to ram this thing. Leslie did not respond. 36 seconds later, he asked a second time, and again, there was no response. Blanchett's brother, Noah, also a state trooper, was driving right behind him. At 11:47, Blanchett was given the okay to ram the car.
Second collision into the guardrail.
Troopers arrested Santiago and Reddick. Investigators say neither of the men nor any troopers were seriously hurt in the incident. The Inspector General calls Leslie's pursuit and crash summary contradictory. In one paragraph, Leslie wrote, "This pursuit was not within the DESPP pursuit policy and/or the statewide pursuit policy." A few lines later, he wrote, "It is this sergeant's conclusion that this traffic pursuit was necessary and justified." The Inspector General called Blanchett's actions not objectively reasonable as a whole and went against his belief that the Honda posed an imminent risk. Regardless of this conclusion, the state will not charge Blanchett. The Inspector General says it's because the rules around when officers can legally use deadly force during pursuits haven't always been clear. This report is meant to give police a better understanding of what is considered deadly force going forward. Trooper Blanchett and Sergeant Leslie were placed on administrative leave after the incident.
Based off my reading of this complaint, the DA's office overcharged here. As far as what I've seen, and I'm sure you've all seen, it was a message of love, all right?
The two climbers who climbed to the top of the Empire State Building were arraigned on felony charges today. Angela Nicolau and Ivan Kuznetsov face charges including burglary, reckless endangerment, and criminal mischief. Now, the pair are stunt performers and are known for scaling towering structures around the world. Reed Binion recaps the moment they reached the top and what followed.
How you doing? Can you just stay where you are?
Gripping police body cam video recorded high above Manhattan on Wednesday after two daredevils got past security and scaled the spire at the top of the Empire State Building.
You can't be up here.
Air traffic control audio captured a moment between a police helicopter pilot and a LaGuardia air traffic controller during the stunt.
Two geniuses climbed to the top of the Empire State Building, the top of the spire. They had some flag they were waving when they were up at the top.
At the end of their perilous climb up the spire, the man and woman unfurled a banner that read, quote, "When the power of love beats the love of power, the world knows peace." Then on their way down, a surprising twist. People getting engaged at the top of the Empire State Building is a common occurrence, but not quite like this.
And he just proposed to her.
Two officers climbed 4 ladders to reach the pair, escorting them down safely. Police took the couple into custody without incident. They're facing multiple charges, including reckless endangerment and criminal trespass. A law enforcement official said investigators are working to determine how the pair accessed a restricted area not open to the public.
The security guard said that no, nobody's allowed up the top. But because I'd seen them go up, I just assumed that they were allowed.
After the incident, workers were seen on the spire apparently inspecting it. I'm Reed Binion reporting.
And they were released under court supervision and have another court date set for late August.